But the bottom line is this. Do you believe there is any link between Tamerlan Tsarnaev and this triple killing involving one of his best friends?
Well, I believe that there's enough information that has come to light since the bombings that will cause investigators to take another really close, hard look at this. A lot of things that we now know that I think investigators probably did not know or did not think was especially important back in 2011 when these three individuals were killed.
But the three people were Brendan Mess, Raphael Tekin, and Eric Weissman. How were they killed, and what was the belief at the time in terms of who had done it?
Well, I think the belief at the time was that this was probably a drug-related murder. All three individuals had their throats slit and their bodies were sprinkled with marijuana, which seemed to be perhaps a message from more powerful drug dealers that didn't want anyone intruding on their turf. But now things look a little bit different because we now know that one of the victims, Brendan Mess, was a close friend of Tamerlan Tsarnaev, one of the Marathon suspected bombers. And we also know that the murders probably took place on September 11th, 2011, which would have been the 10th anniversary of the attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. Needless to say, a date of enormous significance to Islamic jihadists. We know this because one of the relatives was interviewed by myself, and he said that he was texting one of the victims on the night of September 11th because there was a New York Jets football game going on, and the text stopped abruptly at about 8:15 that evening. So we now know this murder probably took place on September 11th. We know that Tamerlan had recently, perhaps a year before, become converted to a much more radical form of Islam. We know now that even though Brendan was a close friend of his, he didn't show up at the funeral. And we also know that he went to Russia for 6 months, not too long afterwards. So you add all these things together, and it really looks like a case where there's just so much coincidence involved that investigators really need to take another look at it, and I think that's what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.